Great. Okay. So we are officially live on Facebook. Let me go ahead and switch over so I can see myself here on Zoom. Make it easier for myself. All right. So it is Wednesday, November 25th, and we are on Reflection Artist Live. This is our fifth episode. We have Bob Myers. For those of you who don't know who Bob Myers is, he's been in the industry for 40 years. He works with Pro Products, which we'll get into the background of Pro Products and who they are and the development of them. But he's been with Pro Products now for 22 years, and he is a Midwest regional sales guy, which is basically overseeing all the Midwest for the region of that area, and then of course R&D as well. So he helps make sure that products work as they are intended to the performance of what Pro is known for. And mind you, Pro has been with the International Detailing Association since the inception of its time, right around the 2008 2009 timeframe. And Bob himself has been with them for the past 4 years and super involved, committees, board member, all that good stuff. So I want to thank you for being on, Bob, and diving into this. Give me a little bit of background. That now that we're at a 40-year benchmark in your career with the detail industry, how did all this start? Where did all this begin of you having interest in becoming a detailer, being in the detail industry?
Well, I appreciate, the time and the podcast, Justin. And, going back 40 years, I don't know if I didn't really, consider myself a detailer. I was just taught from, my dad, my grandparents, if you take care of something, it will take care of you, So of course, having a vehicle, that was kind of top thing, big, cost factor. So, you take care of what you have. And, back in the beginning, I had a friend from school that had his father owned a dealership and went down and just washed cars on the side and from weekends and summertime, and didn't really think anything of it. It wasn't, in my opinion, back in that day, really detailing. It was just what you did, what people did. And after high school, I got into construction immediately, and I was always given a bad time, from all the different guys. My car was always clean. I would wash my car before I'd go to work, at 6:30 in the morning, and it was like shiny clean, rain or shine. I washed it, and so after doing that for 6-7 years, I was talking to a couple friends and my banker, and she said, "Hey, have you ever thought of detailing?" And I'm like, "Well, what's detailing?" It's kind of what you do. You clean cars. And I went, "They actually have a business doing that. That's actually a thing." And that's in essence, how it started. Is cleaning relatives and vehicles, neighbors, cars, and at that time it was $20 here, $20 there. I didn't know what to charge because I was just having fun and something to do. And so that's really where it all started.
And you were
So
doing this on the side while you were doing construction still, or
yeah,
did you have a different job at this point?
I was doing construction and kind of phased out construction because I looked at the journeymans that I was working side by side. I became a journeyman and they looked about 15, 20 years older than what they actually were. And I kind of realized real quick, that's not what I want to do. It's not for me. I want to have, all my limbs and fingers, later on in life. So, I fell back onto, cleaning cars, and, I started out of, right out of my grandparents' garage and grew from there. And, it's kind of an interesting story because I started in Salem, Oregon, is originally where I'm born and raised. And I decided to open up my shop and get a sign and, get, real official, so to speak. And I had the local detailers, that have been in the business for 15, 20 years. They were the main detailers. You'll never make it. There's only three of us.
What
And,
what what year was this? Do you roughly think?
oh, geez, that was, back in probably, 86, 87. And um, so that gave me more fuel, to succeed. And after having, my detail business, successful detail business, I ended up actually selling it, to one of those owners that told me that it wouldn't work. So,
Ah,
kind of,
kudos.
yeah, that was the ultimate, kind of pat
Or I
on the
should
back.
say touche.
Yeah, exactly. So, but a lot before that, we kind of jump started, from, you know, uh, the, I guess the dealership, washing cars, it's, there's a lot of do's and don'ts. I say it all the time. You kind of have to go through the mud to get to the clean water. And back then, we didn't have, the education that we have now. We don't have the IDA. We didn't have that. You went, to, watched people, to detail, or, got a job at a dealership and just kind of went up that rank, and you kind of learned on the fly, what not to do is what, everybody told you what not to do.
Yeah, there was no educational process. YouTube, the internet really wasn't of existence. It was, going down the street to talk to somebody who works at the supply store, maybe
Yeah,
body shop supply, if anything.
yeah, exactly. I actually, I think my formal training, that I wanted to, I kind of got bit by the bug, is I volunteered for 2 weeks at a detail shop there in Salem. And I worked, as his grunt, whatever he wanted me to do, I did, and free of charge. And that's how I got my on the job training. And I knew at that point what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do, in detailing. And I can't, stress education is something that you just never can stop doing. It's not, something that, like, you go through, K through 12, and now you graduated, and it's all downhill. It's it's far beyond that, because this industry has changed drastically just in the last 10-15 years.
Oh, yeah.
So and it's still evolving and still changing. So
No, it has. And you've been on the forefront of that evolution with, what you've done and what you've put into the industry. And of course, who you have joined up with in regards to the brand you represent with Pro as
right.
well. So, with you in getting, the background in your own business and detailing and, being able to do this yourself as an individual, at what point did you decide, after you sold the business, to get involved on the distributor level and start to get involved on the industry level?
Well, after I sold my business, I actually was hired by dealership groups and body shop groups that brought me in for a 12-month period to make their detail shop run efficiently and make money.
So you were
So I
like bar
basically,
rescue, but detail rescue.
exactly,
That's awesome.
and I had 12 months, to do that. And, there was a little bit of a bonus at the end of that. And, it, it was not easy, because it's like mirroring my business as best as I could, because, I got, other people's livelihoods. I have, kids or guys and girls, that are relying on a job, and trying to teach them a trade. All they want to do is punch a time card and put in their 8 hours and go home. There was a lot of hiring going on. There was a lot of firing going on. I was known as the kind of the hatchet person, but after 12 months, that business was making money.
So basically, you had
That's
this time frame to scale,
Yep.
bail on all the crap that was previous, teach them the new,
Yeah.
and then get them to be successful with that process and continued as a SOP to say, so
Yep.
they could, scale even further past that 12 months to be more successful.
Yep.
That's
Exactly.
awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at that point, I didn't really call myself a trainer. I mean, I was just doing what I would do if I had 12, people, thrown into my lap, okay, now we're going to do business here. And I had to break it down from, just lot washes, maintenance, type washes, to correcting and detailing, maintain detailing, and actually, reselling, actually getting details into a dealership in a body shop that was not that was not known. That was like, we don't do that. How do we
Yeah,
do
it's
that?
unheard of.
Yeah. So it was very satisfying, leaving, you know, a group. The biggest group I did was, I think it was 8 body shops. And I started at one and went through all, 8. They mirrored my system, and they're still in business today. And I'm assuming they're still using my format, but, they're still, it made them, very successful because, you know, back, years ago, it was always known, most of your collision, shops, your body shops, they took some glass, Windex and an air hose and maybe a vacuum, and cleaned your car, and you got it back, and there was, an inch of dust on the dash, and it smelled like Bondo and, paint and
Yeah.
so forth. And, that was introduced. And, at the same time, I felt, that this one particular body shop chain, recognized that there's value in a clean car. They're taking somebody's, unfortunate accident or mistake and repairing it back to, pre-condition. And that meant detailing the car too. And that's where they got it, is that they actually, delivered the vehicle better than it was when it came in. And then people saw the value in that, so they didn't mind, paying that extra, 150, couple $100 to have that done.
Yeah.
I'll never forget where, there was, I think it was actually one of the big, insurance companies, the estimators would come out, and I would talk to them. And, I finally got this one, estimator to actually give, an hour of time to just vacuum out glass from a vehicle before, the collision shop started working on it. And people don't think of it is that there's glass, in an accident, glass goes everywhere. And then
Oh
that
yeah.
body shop guy, he has to go through that, get cut up or whatever. So they have to spend an hour at least, cleaning up the car so they can fix it. And I got, the insurance company to actually, pay us to do that. That was, geez, way back in the day.
Yeah, give him the vacuum and then show him how much work is involved, and they'll be begging to pay you to do it.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's still a trend these days in regards to, detailers teaming up with body shops in their local market. It's not a trend that is capitalized on as much as it should be,
No.
because unfortunately, I feel that a lot of the detailers look at body shops as hack shops, and
Yep.
a lot of them, don't get me wrong, a lot of them are great. There's
Yep.
no shade that can be thrown on them, but there are a majority that unfortunately their finish work, that's not what they're there for. They're there to get the paint on, keep
Right.
it intact, keep it shiny, make sure there's no dirt, dust, or anything in the finish, and
Right.
send it. And
Yep.
usually that completes the service with a glaze. That way they
Yep.
could send it out and everybody's happy, right?
Right.
As to where that's where we could capitalize on the finish work of that, or finish restoration to say, and kind of go forward with that. And that's where a lot of people are not taking opportunities to team up with those body shops to kind of do that. Or what you were saying, to your point, is cleanup, just
Yep.
basic cleanup. And I think that's still, again, it's a good trend, but a lot of detailers locally or all over the place aren't capitalizing on that, and they should be. And there's money to be made there, especially
Oh,
when it comes to production work, and just saying, hey, low level service just as a wholesale price for you. We'll get it done. If you want more of our premium work, this is our price list for that. This is our price list for the basic wholesale stuff that we can do for you. And that way it separates it so they know what direction to go.
absolutely. Yep.
And I'm sure even during that time that you were doing it, I mean, would you say that for how you were doing it was pretty profitable? And
Oh yeah. I mean, it was, I happened to be a detail shop that was, connected to a collision. They actually leased me, the
yeah,
building, and kind of really gave me my real legit spot.
that's
And
a
we
win-win.
worked side by side. And, they would actually bring me over in the estimating process, and I would look at the vehicle and give an estimate on a complete detail. And, anything extra, that I, offered, they would just offer it at that point, during that estimate. So they, the collision service that I, work next to, they understood that, to be diverse back in the early 90s, and wasn't just, knock out the dent, throw some paint on it and clean it up and send it. They wanted to be the complete package, minus automotive, repair. They sent that out, to somebody else. But, it's all about appearance. And, it's very gratifying when, somebody brings in their car, tragic, accident, and, they come back to get their, car, it's completely done, and they're just literally blown away. And, it's better than it was new when they first got it. And, that's kind of, the pat on the back that a lot of detailers like us, have gotten over the years. It's, the monetary is always good, but it's the satisfaction, that smile that, they have a clean, nice, clean car.
Yeah, 100% agree. And you're on the forefront of a proven model of being able to team up with the body shop. Now, hence you had a little bit more in with them being in the same building, but overall, the combination was a proven model that it can be successful working with a body shop.
Yeah.
And that's cool, especially for that time frame in the early 90s. I mean, obviously I wasn't detailing then, I was still in grade school, but being around like-minded people that have been around like yourself, hearing that story over and over again, it gives me an idea of, yes, that was a time frame that wasn't heard of.
Right.
So that's very cool to see that, you were on the forefront of that and part of that evolution, to say, with a proven model that,
right.
People could say, oh, it doesn't work. No, it works.
Yeah.
It works. And where the area was this? What city or state?
Salem, Oregon.
Oh,
So it was the northwest corner.
dang. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So you weren't in a big metropolitan type area at all. So
No.
therefore, if somebody is, that's even more success at the fingertips. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. So moving forward, then after you got out of that and moved, what was the next step? And
well, when I sold the business, and went into kind of like consulting is kind of how I looked at it. I got bored, of doing that, and still had, I still wanted to be involved in the industry, and honestly never thought, of the manufacturing and the sales, the product chemical sales end of it at all. Even though I've been, around, several different, brands, but the main brand being Pro Products. One of the sales reps that used to call on me and deliver products to me every week went to work for, BAF Pro Products, years ago. And we kept in touch, and he said, hey, if you ever come, ever available to come down to California, like to go out to lunch with you, and, and kind of show you around and so forth. And couple years, went by, and I took him up, and I just went down there on vacation. I had a foster brother that was in the military at Camp Pendleton, and I literally didn't pack a pair of, long, pants. It was all shorts, tank tops, t-shirts, and I was on vacation. First time I've ever been to Cali. You hear all the, glamour and, everything about California. So, we went to lunch, and it quickly turned into a interview, lunch. And at that point, I kind of had to switch gears. I was embarrassed because, we're at a pretty nice, restaurant, in SoCal, and I'm in a, flip flops and shorts and a t-shirt.
Oh, you fit right in.
Yeah, fit right in. Now I know I fit right in.
Yeah,
I mean,
either way you fit right
casual
in.
formal in Cali. So
it's no different than here in Florida.
Yeah.
Anything on the east coast or the west coast of Florida, it's all the same.
Yeah. But we talked and everything, and the talk was, we don't really have anything, for you. And I'm like, well, I wasn't really looking, for a job. I just came down here to, catch up, and see you guys. And they said, but, we're going to, do you have a resume? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I do. And so I sent them my resume, and they shot it out to, distributors throughout the, local, area. And I think it was about 4 weeks later, local pro distributor in San Diego interviewed me for, I would say, at least 7 hours on the phone, and hired me over the phone and paid for my way to move down to San Diego and be a sales rep, for him. And, sight unseen, I didn't know him. He didn't know me, except for my resume and my experience. And it was a very interesting first day. If you know the Northwest, Chris Lee and a lot of guys in the West, Northwest corner is going to understand this. You basically have Interstate 5 that goes north and south, and that's basically it. Around the Portland area, you might have a few, interstates, but, it's pretty, I guess I'm, just really brought up on just like one major interstate. You go down to San Diego or Southern Cal, and it's a spaghetti mess of roads. And so I finally get there, and my acknowledgement was, I met the owner, and he said, okay, well, here's the keys to the van, and here's your invoice book, here's the price book, and here's the Thompson guide, and there's the van. See you later.
Wow.
That was my training.
Wow. Yeah, we've come a long way, thankfully.
Yeah. So it's like sink or, swim. And, I really didn't know what to expect. I think I was really naive, at that point back in that day. After 90 days, I literally, came up to the front office and talked to the owner, and I said, I think I'm going to quit, before I get fired, because I literally, Justin, maybe sold one chamois, a couple toothbrushes in 90 days.
Oh, damn.
I mean, I didn't make, zero sales, and I'm collecting a weekly check every week, so the stress, is.
What do you think it was? I mean, do you think it was because it was a new face in the market, or?
I think it was a new face, me. I know the number one was me just trying to get around and show up to different places that, needed product. And, but
learning the route was probably
learning the route, learning, how you walk in and go talk to somebody. It's different selling a detail than it is selling juice and selling wax and chemicals and so forth. And, I finally kind of sat down, and fell back on, when I was consulting, and I went in and threw the whole chemical, out the window. I'm just going to walk in and see, how can I help your business? And I started doing that. And that's when things turned around. The owner looked at me and he goes, I'm not going to fire you. I'm not going to let you go. You're just out there farming, you're just planting seeds. Eventually, things are going to, blossom, and you're going to, go for a ride. And literally it was like 3-4 weeks after that, I started getting calls. I started getting requests, for people, for me to stop in and actually, sit down with them and talk about chemicals and talk about training. How can, we, educate our personnel to do a more, efficient job with using better chemicals, not, there's nothing wrong with, I guess, Walmart, AutoZone, type Pet Boy type products, but, professional grade, type products that, we make and sell now. And, that was pretty much the rest was, history. I mean, it just literally took off after that point. I remember that there was one particular route that had 0 sales in it. And within 6 years, I turned that into a 2-day, 40 stop a day route before I left.
Damn.
And, I was leaving the office at 7:30, not getting back until about 7 in the evening, type of sales. I mean, just, back in that day, you had to hustle, and you still have to hustle now, but, it was different. Of course, yeah, I had the language barrier. I didn't, my extensive, Spanish is, Taco Bell, for the most part. But I quickly,
they didn't have a Rosetta Stone back then, huh?
Yeah, no, there was no Rosetta Pebble back in that day. But I learned, what leche, is, which was, like an Armor All type, dressing, milk, and key words. But I caught on real quick, if you treat, the Latino, people right and square from the beginning, you'll have lifelong relationships, and they just want to learn. They want to be, like you and me. And I took that and I treated everybody the same. I didn't care who what you look like, what color, no, nothing. It was, I just treated everybody the same. And I still do that today, is I try to, really, treat everybody with the same respect. And,
Yeah, it goes a long
um,
way.
and they will, they'll reward you. I mean, they'll buy from you. They'll call you up and want you, to, fix whatever type of issue, whatever case, a car comes in with a problem. How do I take care of this? There's a lot of, good detailers, out there, over the years. So I feel, a privilege, going down to Southern California and kind of learning that market, learning, that demographic of people and being diverse. You know, my language is still not much more than Taco Bell, maybe, maybe Del Taco, but, I can hang, around for a little bit. So.
Now, during that time, you were supplying both dealerships and independent
Yeah,
detailers?
everything, car washes, body shops, dealerships, you name it. I mean, hospitals, police stations, firehouses. That's one thing about our product line. We're a very diverse product line. There's a lot of manufacturers that are very diverse, but we're really strong that there's somebody out there cleaning something. It doesn't necessarily need to be a car or a truck. And there's always some type of cleaning going on. And that's what I realized, from that owner down in San Diego. He said, hey, run into that hotel. They're cleaning carpets, they're cleaning tables, so that, it's somebody's always cleaning something out there. So
Yeah. And I mean, with that, with the background in pro products, I mean, we're what year, I should say, did pro products start? How long they've been around the industry? Give everybody a little bit of background on pro
yeah,
products.
1935 is when pro, started. Frank Bell that's now passed. He was actually the gentleman. I can't say enough about Frank. I miss him dearly. But after selling, down in San Diego, there was a salesman named Bob Machete that worked with me, and he threw my hat, to Frank and said, hey, you got to interview this guy. You got to get him on board with the company. He's a pro guy. And I remember him, sitting in his office, and he goes, well, welcome aboard. I don't know what I'm going to do with you, but, I got you, and it was just like that. Yeah, Frank goes way back. I mean, his passion and love was the industry. His, uber passion was chemistry. He loved, driving down the road from all, one thing, about Frank, he loved to talk and stories. And he would drive, into a market, into an area, and he would just tell me, he would just listen for the high-speed polisher. And that's where he went. And, and that's back. I mean, Frank, he opened the door, to a lot of the markets that I'm managing now. I mean, he would literally load up the station wagon, leave the family behind, and he would leave with a full station wagon. And that was his expense. I mean, if he didn't sell product on the street from leaving California, it all depended on where he stayed, what hotel, and what he ate. Something about Frank and myself, we like our food, so
100% agree with that.
But the the market is definitely changed, but I think it's still the same same thing. You got to be personable with everybody, and I don't care what brand that you're repping. It's the relationship, and that's I think that's just what. Going back to, when I was really struggling selling for, that distributor in San Diego, I kind of, peeled the onion and went, what am I really good at? And I didn't think I was really good at selling, but I knew how to talk to people and how to try to help them. From my experience with nobody, teaching me really how, if I could walk in and if I could teach them how to, help them detail one more car a day, help them, detail that car a little bit better, not just, slamming it out, but, doing a better detail. That's what I excelled at. And, that's what, basically that rewarded me, in this industry, that I'm still in. So,
Now, with everything that you achieved with being on the truck, at what point in time did you start to make that transition into the higher ups in pro and getting in different positions, and what got you there?
well, I got hired. I started managing the Western states. Back, I look at it this way: is that I had to be in front of my customer that I was selling product to directly, the detail shop, and that's how I looked at it with the distributor network. I can't be, well, back then it wasn't so much email, but it was phone call or a fax, and I'm not really a telephone or fax guy. So, we have to be in front of our distributor, and telling them what's the latest, greatest, best thing and how
Yeah,
to,
right
and,
here.
and all that. Exactly. So, it's, and it rewarded. I mean, I really got some good gains out of the West. And, I want to say after about, 4 or 5 years, then they sent me over to the Midwest, because there wasn't really a sales rep for the Midwest states for a long time. And that's where I'm at, right now. The one thing about Pro, is that we're a family owned and ran company, and that's really means a lot. I might not have the right last name, but I feel like part of the family, and the um, that longevity, of employees, with a company, was attractive. And that's why, I decided to, come on board with, BAF Pro Products. And um, the, uh, we're a small company, but we do big business, so, I could take a phone call for somebody from the West Coast to the East Coast. I have, our sales rep, Brian Finn, that takes care of the Northeast area, and John, that kind of takes oversees, everything. But, we know pretty much every customer, so to speak. Every rep has their main customers they take care of, but when we need to chip in and help, another rep out or help a customer out, I don't say, hey, please hold, let me transfer you. I basically, we all try to take care of that customer calling in for whatever need. And that actually, goes to actually us going to, distributors and work with them, firsthand, on the street, or doing events, or, some type of training, within the distributor. So we're really a hands-on, we try to be a hands-on type, manufacturing, company. And that's where that relationship comes in, which is real key.
Yeah, the traditional customer service.
Traditional. Yeah,
I hate to say it, but it's a dying breed.
it is.
There's so many automated things now that people get their hands on because they want, less tasks to keep in front of them. By doing these automated things, it allows them to do that, but it also takes away from that traditional customer service. And yeah, I think that Pro has done very well in regards to that. And, and speaking about, how you feel so involved in part of the company, absolutely. When people talk about Pro or Bob Myers, it just goes together.
Right.
You've been with them so long that you think that, you are at some level an owner. Some people could think because of the involvement that you have. And of course, again, that relationship of customer service.
Right.
That's what most owners of companies would do. So to see that their employees or their reps do the same, which also leads back to leadership, great
Right.
leadership that trickles down for everybody to have that same value and
Right.
integrity. And
Right.
that shows the integrity of the entirety of the company, because you reflect that, and so does everybody else there, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and I got, and I can't take all the credit. I mean, there's been, Bob Machete, he just actually recently, just passed. Frank, an icon, in the industry. John Bell, Mike Bell, his older brother. Um, you know, I, uh, I think I'm doing a good job, and I hope I'm doing them proud. I've taken a little bit of, from John, his type of selling and his knowledge, and Mike. I take everybody and I kind of make, myself, trying to be kind of somewhat of a mirror, of them, and I think that's what makes us, real strong. So. And I know, Brian Finn in the Northeast, he's a, a great guy in the industry, and he is definitely pro quality. So, it's a pleasure, working with, professional, gentlemen.
Now with Pro Products, talk to me a little bit. We're just coming out of the SEMA time frame that unfortunately we didn't get to attend due to this whole COVID scenario.
Right.
What is Pro looking like in regards to new product development? What can you comfortably speak on that you could let people know that you guys are offering, and where you're at with products and development?
Well, we've, R&D hasn't really taken a back seat, Justin, this year. We've really tried to, with being shut down, we shut down for 90 days. It was real tough, not just on a manufacturing, but with our, distributor network. So we've really focused on, trying to, take care of our distributors, with product, get them product. So far we're doing really good this year. I think better, than what I expected. We've got a couple projects, that we're working on. I got one that's real close that we're hoping to showcase at Mobile Tech, in Orlando. If that doesn't happen, for whatever reason, then we're definitely going to showcase it at the SDC, in June, down in Lexington. So, it's an all-in-one compound. I can tell you that. It's something that Brian and I have been working on for about 2 years. And one thing about, our R&D and our development is, we can actually come up with, say you and I come up with an idea today. It's a minimum 12 months before it goes to market. Minimum.
Oh yeah.
Minimum. And sometimes it's 2 years.
Yeah.
Because we got to
pass
work
around and tested and tried and pushed.
Yeah.
And
it's tough. I mean, it's because we don't want to come out with something that's just like, oh yeah, we got something like that. We want to come to the table with something a little extra. It's different. We don't feel like we have that many holes in our line, but we do understand that the holes, the gaps in our line are created by the industry, by how the movement in the industry is moving. That's what creates, some of these gaps.
Such as coatings.
Yep, exactly. So, it's not hard, to put out, good quality product, because that's what we do. Sometimes it's painful because it takes too long, and we talk about something forever. But it's something about us is that we aren't going to just put something out just to put something out. This goes back to Frank. I mean, he wants to work all the bugs out and make sure that I don't sell it just to Justin. I want to be able to sell it to 30 Justins out there, and that's what takes so long with the R&D and different raw materials and changes with regulations and all that. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. There.
So, a lot of variables, not just actually putting it to the paint and testing.
Right.
There's so many different variables on the raw materials, all the way down to how those blend together to make the magic happen. Yeah, and that in itself is a challenge.
Yeah, I mean that's what John takes care of all day long. So,
so as far as your involvement, Bob, with such as like the IDA, outside of course just the entirety of the industry and helping build others, the past 4 years, I mean, that's grown from you being a member into where are we at now with everything with your position in the IDA?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, I'm very honored to be part of IDA, and I take it real serious. I wish there was an IDA back in my day, back when we first started. I mean, you kind of benefit, your detailing, shop and business with, the IDA. But I mean, I would have paid serious money even back, in the early 90s for something like the IDA to go to get, training or certification and acknowledgement and be part of a, association. But, it's, John, actually, nominated me to, be on the board. and got me, on there, and I haven't looked back. I mean, I think this last year I haven't really done too many events because of, the situation. I think the year before that I did, 23, 24 different, events I related, IDA related. I, certified a lot of detailers and got to meet, a lot of diverse, detailers out there that are, they're looking at me, and and the first thing I tell them when I'm talking to them is that there's no reason why you can't be in my shoes, and there's no reason why you cannot be on that board, and there's no reason why you can't be an IDA president. And it's all about involvement, and I preach that all the time, whenever I'm in front of a bunch of people, trying to get them involved in this association. It's an association that has teeth. It's an association that has a lot of knowledgeable, professional, people surrounded by it, and and some good-looking guys like yourself. So, but it's the real deal. It's when somebody tries to talk bad about the IDA, it's almost like talking down to pro products. I take it that personal because it's the real deal when it comes to the association.
Part of your DNA.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. It's just part of who you are.
Yeah.
You put your time in to help develop. I mean, the association is a growing association, and those who have been on the forefront of it have helped put the building blocks in. And you've had your hands on quite a few of those building blocks.
Yeah,
so.
There's a lot of gentlemen that have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the beginning, and they're still actively some of them are still actively involved, which is good. But it is evolving, and it's getting bigger and better. I was I'm very impressed that my first day at an IDA board meeting was in Orlando, and I think yourself you were there, and I just looking around at everybody, and I felt this big, and I'm kind of a big guy.
Yeah.
I was very humbled, with
Yeah.
With the people in that room, and what makes me proud is that everybody leaves their badge at the doorstep, and we
Yep.
come in together and we try to lift this industry up. And as long as we can keep doing that, the IDA is going to go on forever.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because that's one thing that a lot of people don't get to see. So they don't get to see the big picture of, when we all meet once a year for the board members, there's so many people sitting around that table from so many different manufacturers,
Yep.
brands, and things of that nature that, yeah, check it out the door, and we're there to help build the industry as a whole. And if only so many people seen how much goes into that, and they would have a better understanding and newfound respect for, that part of it, and of course the IDA in general. But
and it's all volunteer, Justin. I mean, I don't get a check at the end of that weekend.
No, it's a long day too.
Yeah,
it's a long volunteer day.
Yeah.
Well, good. As far as everything moving forward, yeah, I mean that's an amazing story and background with the IDA, especially with your involvement, and then seeing the evolution of everything, with being with Pro and seeing their involvement. And I'm sure you've seen it, and I've seen it too, just in the past 7-8 years being involved. Just even the differences in age, back when IDA got started, it was a bit more of an older generation,
right.
The percentage, and now it started to transition into where the younger generation is getting more involved, and then doing the skills validation or the certified detailer test. You're seeing a mixture of both.
Yeah.
And you're seeing a mixture of both, of even some of the older generation that's retiring from careers, getting into detailing.
Yep.
And taking it on a secondary career, to say, or part-time career for extra money as they're retired. And it's just, and then the younger guys coming straight out of college or just high school, because college maybe wasn't a fit for them because they were more hands-on.
Right.
Or knuckleheads, one of the two.
Well, and that's one thing about detailing, it's a trade, so to speak. and if something doesn't work out, all you have to do is call, a manufacturer like myself or a distributor, get some products and go detail a few cars, make your mortgage. I mean, it's something that you can fall back on. And like you said, there's a lot of retirement, people that have called me and actually, that buy product, from me today, and they want to get certified. I'm like, you've been around for 30 years doing this. Why do you want to get certified? I go, I want that piece of paper and I want to support, the association. And I'm like, kudos to you.
That's awesome. And that's the thing, the growth of diversity in the past 5 to 10 years, age, gender, background, culture, whatever it may be, it's not looked at as that. It's you're a detailer.
Yeah.
And they're hungry for more education, and that's the source there for the IDA being able to do that. And then of course people like yourself who have been doing that prior to IDA, and this is just kind of all allowed everything to come together as a whole, to make it more legit to say.
Yeah.
And,
It's, you spoke about, gender, there's a lot of, and I'm noticing more and more, every year, more, female detailers. There's a lot of them out there that are, I'll put up against, any male, detailer, and, they do an awesome job. And, they need to be recognized. We need to get them on committees and get them on the board and get them more involved. My hats are off to them. I mean, sometimes, I know of a couple, female, detailers that I would prefer having them detail my car than, some guys that I know. So,
yeah, well then that's the other thing leading into distributors, reps, product companies.
Yep.
I know one locally we have here in Florida. She runs a great brand and she does a great job. And, and it's one of those things that you don't see that often in the industry with somebody who, runs a manufacturer and distributor brand to say.
Right.
And so from a female perspective,
Yep.
which is awesome. But yeah, I see the growth there, and I see that being a very positive thing for our industry. That way it all levels out.
Yep.
And it gives everybody opportunity at any level, because again, you're a detailer and you're supporting the industry as a whole, no matter what you bring to the table as age, gender, or culture.
Yep.
So I think with where we're at in time, I mean, wrapping up, how do we find you, Bob? How does somebody reach out to you?
Well, I'm obviously, here at Pro Products, prowax.com. The easiest way is you just go through, I can give you my contact information, but, probably the easiest is, log into the, IDA site that has all of my, information, on it. I'm very accessible. My wife and kids will tell you, my phone never really turns off. I'll be at 7:00, in between dinner or doing dishes, and and I kind of go off into the bedroom and I'm texting somebody, and it's just a way of life. And it's one of my mottos is definitely never stop learning, and there's never a stupid question. If there's any way I can help somebody out of a jam, or answer any type of question that they might have before they do something, it's better that route than get that that question after something's already done, and how do we reverse that. So it's always a pleasure dealing with everybody out there in our industry and trying to help them out in any way. So I got so many years left, in me in this industry, and
got another 40.
I'm striving to, give back as much as I can. So
awesome. Well said. And thank you very much, Bob. And on behalf of Buff and Shine, thank you for joining us on this Reflection Artist Live podcast. You are our number 5 podcast episode, which is awesome. So
cool.
Before we hit the double-digit numbers, you're there.
All right.
So I appreciate it. And, anybody who's listening, you could follow us on our Facebook page, Buff and Shine Manufacturing, Reflection Artist page as well. We have Instagram, Facebook, and then any of the podcast platforms this will be uploaded to as well. So you'll be able to find it, Reflection Artist Live. So I want to thank everybody for listening or watching or both. And thank you, Bob, for, again, being on and being the 5th special guest that we've had on the Reflection Artist Live.
I appreciate it, Justin. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care, Bob.
Okay,
we'll talk later.
Take care, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.